It first happened on the school bus. He just came up and started hitting me.
Walking down the hall was a total nightmare.
It got to where I didn't even want to go to school anymore.
I need to find somewhere where I feel safe and that I know I can be myself.
I tried to fight back, but then I was the one that got suspended.
All these kids just did not like me, and if I wasn't there, they wouldn't have someone to not like. Lunchtime was really hard, walking around and seeing all the groups of friends that I didn't have and seeing all the eyes telling me not to sit with them.
My friends were afraid to stand up for me.
I really thought I was gonna die.
I didn't want to exist anymore. I wanted to die.
Literally millions of children are bullied, and there are millions of bullies too. Boys bully, girls bully. It really doesn't seem to matter. In the case of girls, it's often verbal abuse.
All of the bullying made me feel really bad about myself. All of a sudden, I was ashamed of who I was and what I looked like and who I am. And I used to love who I was, and then all of a sudden I looked in the mirror and I just hated everything that I saw. It started in middle school. I would go to school and walk down the halls and people would call me names like goblin, cake face, they'd call me fat. And it got to the point where I didn't want to go to school anymore. Like, I pretended to be sick pretty often. And the school called and asked me why I was sick so often. And
we targeted kids that were not popular, that were isolated. We really targeted overweight girls, especially when we were in the locker rooms. We would bully them and make fun of their weight, what kind of underwear they were wearing, and just stuff like that. We were really mean.
when I was in 7th grade, I would get texts from numbers I didn't even know calling me whore and telling me to go back home, and they didn't want me at school because I was embarrassing to look at. I talked to the school principal pretty frequently about it, and she tried her best to stop it or tame it at least, but talking to the principal made it worse because the kids thought it was funny that it actually affected me, so they started doing it more, so that I would feel more upset and talk to the principal more and then watch me cry at lunch.
We would think it was really funny if we could make a girl cry. We would bet on who could make the girl cry first. Lunchtime was our favorite time because we all got together and we picked on anybody that was different, anybody that was dressed not to our as high as we were.
When I got the text that said, "You're fat, go home, whore," my parents contacted the parents of the child who did that. They talked to the principal and they talked to the reverend, trying to find some way to prevent all this from happening, but it just didn't work.
I don't think any of the girls that we bullied ever told on us because we never got in trouble for it.
Yeah, I often thought of what it would be like if I didn't exist anymore, how people would react if they would even care, and most of the time I thought they wouldn't care, they would be better off without me.
Suicide is not the answer to our problems, and reaching out and getting help, whatever help means to each individual. You know, it's not always professional, sometimes it's accessing, help and support from our friends, which isn't a bad thing, but then we need to educate those friends on where the support is for them as well. So it's that ripple effect.
I was bullied for 4 years, and it got to the point where I couldn't handle it anymore, so I ended up having to be homeschooled.
Bullying is a form of aggressive behavior that is intended to be hurtful. It can be verbal, it can be physical, there's cyberbullying. It usually is persistent.
I was the skinny kid in class that all the jocks would pick on.
When I was in 10th grade, there was a group of guys that would just constantly beat me up. They would attack me in school, in the hallways, after school. It didn't even matter. I was able to hide it from my parents for a while, but eventually they found out.
I don't know how many times I was shoved into lockers or locked in the bathroom.
I got sick of being the victim. I'm kind of embarrassed to admit it, but I became a bully too.
It took me a long time to have any kind of feeling of self-worth.
The turning point was probably when I hurt one of these kids really bad, and it really made me think.
Bullying happens at any age, and it can happen to someone in any grade. It usually starts about 3 to 4 years old and then gets worse from there. Normally we see the worst cases in middle school, but high school is becoming quite severe as well, especially with social media.
I had these girls who would constantly be posting on each other's Facebook making statuses, and it would be like calling me names, saying that I was ugly and that I was fat and that I was like a copycat because I happened to do my hair similar to theirs that day. And it really bothered me just because I had never experienced people being this mean before, and I had no idea why people would do that. I didn't understand that people could actually be that mean. And so I was like, wow, like these things have to be true because nobody's gonna just hurt you on purpose.
When you've got a young person that already may feel inadequate or defective because of other voices that have spoken into their lives over their childhood or early adolescent development, then Facebook can become a dangerous place because here there's comparison not only to all of your friends, all of your peers, but there's comparison to the whole world of adolescence.
Like I got beat up, and I don't know, I think it just kept going one on top of the other because I would try and stand up to this girl and she would just get worse, and she would say worse things and she would get more people involved in it. And of course, the more people that are involved, the harder it is to get away from it, especially when it's on the internet. And even if you block them, then they're still gonna walk by you in the hallway and snicker, say something, and like a snicker might not mean a lot, but it's still, you know what they're thinking and you remember everything that they said previously and stuff.
Well, I guess when you go back to the 60s when I was growing up, certainly bullying, cyberbullying was not an issue, but bullying was quite different than it is today. When I was growing up, we had a bully in our neighborhood. His name was John. And if I saw John coming down the street, my mom ran the local restaurant. My dad was the postmaster. And if I needed a means of escape, I could simply head off to one of those two locations. The difference today is that kids have no means of escape. They can be in their bedroom, in their own house, with their smartphones, and that can be one of the dangerous places that they'll ever go, is the safety of their own home. Because due to technology, there's just no place for them to go that they can be away from this, and they never get a break from it.
Ratea's mother, Leah Parsons, created this video with pictures of Ratea and a discussion on Facebook and in the media about how Ratea was allegedly raped by 4 boys when she was only 15.
While one of the guys was having sex with her, another guy said, take a picture, and she heard the picture click.
That picture spread fast, and soon Ratea was bullied for months. She was labeled a slut, and friends turned against her. Amanda Todd's story is similar. In a video that she posted on YouTube, which now has millions of views, Amanda tells her story of how she was cyberbullied and physically bullied, and the devastating effect it had on her life. Like Ratea, Amanda committed suicide only weeks after she posted this video, asking for help.
Physical, verbal, and cyberbullying are all very common, but there is also such a thing called emotional bullying. And that is really when someone is targeted for their feelings, particularly their relationships with other people.
Well, I was bullied in school because of my sexuality, because I was gay. So every day after school, I used to run home. Well, I was chased home by about 5 guys. They would chase me home for about, every day, 5 days a week, just because I was gay. As soon as the bell would ring and we started walking home, they'd walk behind me. They'd like step on my shoes, or they would throw things at me, or they would, say stuff like faggot, punk, sissy, just like, I didn't know who it was because there was so many of them. One day it got pretty bad. Someone kept stepping on my shoes, and I didn't know who it was. They were in back of me. I was walking home, and it got to a point where we actually got into a fist fight. It makes you feel kind of like less than what you are, like something's wrong with you, even though you have no control over it.
Anyone can be bullied. There aren't any rules about that. Bullying usually happens in social situations, and kids are always in social situations. Bullying is real. It's scary, and it needs to stop. The good news is, There are things that we can do to help, and the fear isn't permanent.
All I can say is it gets much better.
Being a bully wasn't helping me not be a victim, so I decided to do something about it.
After I stood up for myself to the guys, we actually became friends.
Years later, one of those guys actually came to me looking for a job. I said no. That was pretty sweet.
I found a center in my hometown that helps mentor kids that were being bullied. I knew where they were coming from, and they trusted me.
I didn't realize I was hurting people so much until my little brother came home and he was becoming a bully victim.
I've taken some time off from school to really get to know myself better, and I feel a lot better about myself. Not having to be judged all the time and just being okay with who I am.
I think being gay is so different, and people just can't wrap their, it's different and they just can't understand that. And sometimes people they can't understand, they make fun of.
Being a mentor has helped me feel better about myself, and by relation, I've made these kids feel better about themselves.
When I saw my little brother so upset coming home from school every single day because he was being so bullied, that's when I decided that I needed to become a better person.
Well, what I did to feel more positive was I just had to realize these kids aren't really going to go anywhere in life if they have to bring other people down. And they're just bringing me down because they were either jealous or worried that I would take over something of theirs. And I just realized that, you know what, I'm better than them. And there has to be a reason why they are making fun of me. And from there, I just kind of learned, you know what, those kids don't matter. And I matter.
Tell someone, I would, instead of going through that harassment that so many kids go through, day in, I would definitely tell a parent, or I would tell a teacher, or tell someone, a friend that you trust, because it can be stopped.
To the people who bullied me and are currently bullying, you need to stop. It hurts more than you think it does. Okay, yeah, they felt sad for a minute. No, they take those feelings home with them and they think about it and overanalyze it. They look in the mirror and just repeat the words that you said, and it really, really does hurt and affect people to the point where it shouldn't.
Have more compassion for people who are not like you, or have more understanding for people who are not like you. Keep your hands to yourself. But it's just, like I said, compassion and respect for anybody, no matter what color, sexuality. Just respect people's differences.
I would tell someone who's being bullied right now that it does get better, and that even now it seems like things aren't going to get better at all and that this is going to be it forever. It's not. If you just think positively and ignore the people that want to bring you down, you will be fine.